Okay, guys, happy Saturday. I have actually opened up my own podcasting studio in my office. So I wanted to introduce you to my space. And today, I actually wanted to talk to you about something very important that I think has been on a lot of people's minds, which is the mark of the beast. Okay, the mark of the beast. And I believe that we've also been very concerned about artificial intelligence, AI, and the whole concept of being able to buy and sell and to be able to distinguish between truth and deceit, truth and lies. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so it's been a while. I have actually been trying to figure out the mark of the beast for quite some time, like a lot of other people, simply for the fact that I want to avoid it, right? So, how do you avoid it if you can't identify it? So, honestly, you guys, I believe that I have been able to identify it. For a while, I was thinking, well, maybe it's Bill Gates and his, wacky ideas and like his implant that he wanted to put into people's hands so they could just scan their hands at grocery stores and things like that. But then I thought, well, maybe it has something to do with Elon Musk and his brain chip and all his weird ideas, right? And I think a lot of people were kind of going down that avenue. However, I was doing some research. I have most of the collection of the author, scientist, theologian Emanuel Swedenborg. And I actually have a couple of his books right here. These two are kind of small. This one is The Doctrine of the New Jerusalem Respecting Sacred Scripture. That's this one. And this is actually one of the books that I was able to find a piece of the answer for the mark of the beast. This one here is called Divine Healing, the Origin and Cure of Disease. So I was looking through this one, and it was talking about the mark of the beast. It was talking about how we're all going to be confused and not be able to identify truth in the end times. How everything's going to be filled with deceit. We won't be able to be taught the truth or to teach the truth. Also, buying and selling, right? So it was talking about old Rome, and it was talking about the monetary system. And the monetary system, money, coins used to be called marks, the mark, right? So money is the mark, and the beast is the covert, evil, gluttonous, greedy, controlling entity behind all of this digital currency that is being kind of thrust upon us right now. They're really pushing hard just over this last year to advertise digital currency and to, like, they've gotten rid of the penny, and sometimes it's hard to be able to use cash in a lot of places. You can't use cash on the Amtrak train, for example. If you try to pay your rent, a lot of times you can't use cash. There has been talk over the last few years of getting rid of the post office. If we get rid of the post office, they have more control over the written word, right? Because they can't really spy on the written word. Also, the post office has their own money order system. So if you purchase a money order and then someone receives a postal money order, they can take it to the post office and cash it there for cash, right? So a lot of our independent, private, just systems are under attack. And so what appears to be happening is they're moving slowly but steadily, pushing us in this direction, right? To where eventually they're going to make it really difficult, if not impossible, to do any kind of transaction without using just the digital currency, which we're kind of doing that in a way right now, even without the Bitcoin and all of that, because we have just the card, we have the number, it goes through the online, so we don't really have any cash going past our hands, right? Like it's, okay, a direct deposit came in for this month much, so we see that number in our account. We're making a purchase online or with our card for this much, it gets deducted from our account, but is that really cash? Is that really money? That's kind of digital already, right? But now we're moving into the Bitcoin type of situation as well, the blockchain, that kind of thing. So when I was studying this, I have this really old Webster's dictionary from the 80s. Really thick. It's got, basic law in it. If I wanted to write a legal letter or something like that, it has that in it. It's got shorthand, all of that stuff. It has the meanings of names and why they're important. And it actually even talks about Emanuel Swedenborg in the Webster's dictionary. So I looked up mark, and in there it describes mark as being money too. So just look that up. If you don't have a dictionary, you may be able to find the truth still online. I don't know. But it has been there right in front of our faces this whole entire time. And I think that we were just looking in the wrong direction. Because honestly, I believe that the people that are in a position of power to figure out what they're going to teach us in schools and what words they're going to take away and things like that, definitions, restructuring of our history and all of that, adding in what they want, taking away what they want, reprinting the Bible. If you look at different versions of the Bible over different years, you will see a lot of inconsistencies. Those people have led us astray in so many ways that we were confused about the mark. So the mark is money. I really truly believe that the mark is money, and the beast is, like I said, the big, greedy, power-hungry, soul-sucking, evil entity behind all of it, right? And so if we really think about this, who are they? If we think about who are they, who is this big evil entity? And how can it, be governing all of these people? There's a lot of people that work under it and do all these things, right? There's departments and organizations and government and all the pieces of government and leaders and teachers and Board of Education and licensure places, right? Well, let's think about that. There really are not that many people anymore that are true believers in the Lord of heaven, okay? There really is not. There are a lot of people that talk the talk and maybe even try to walk the walk, but they're not there in their heart, in their mind, and in their actions, right? They're not there in their truth. And there is a lot of people that are unsure and we call them agnostic, right? Where they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe there's God, maybe there's not a God, I don't know. Don't talk to me about God, because maybe there isn't one, right? And then there is just the flat out atheist type person, which is like, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it at all. There's like nothing after death. There's just darkness. Okay. Those people can easily be influenced and evil can channel through them like crazy, right? And we have to think about this too. If we're thinking about evil, thinking about something that's big, powerful, ancient, needs to feed on something, feeds on what I believe is the energy of our souls and our emotions, the energy that it gets from chaos that it creates, anger that it creates, fear that it creates, anxiety that it creates, hostility that it creates, right? If it's channeling through all of these beings, it's harder to channel through a person that's already channeling God, okay? Because we're channeling truth, we're channeling love, we're channeling justice, we're channeling unity, peace, happiness, joy, togetherness. We're already channeling that, right? So how's evil going to get in? Sometimes maybe it gets in a little bit, and then we recognize it and we chase it out, right? So I believe that's really what's happening here. Like, that's how we can have so many people in so many places across the earth in positions of power, causing us all to be in distress, to feel like we don't have our privacy, like we don't have a voice, like we can't afford a home, it's wrong to get married and have children, or we can't work unless we pay for a license to somebody, right? If we don't pay every year, then we can't work. Or if we move out of state, all of a sudden our career that we know our whole, professional lives is like, oh, sorry, you can't work because we want you to do this other thing, a song and a dance, and then we want you to pay us money since you moved here. Otherwise, you can't work, right? That kind of thing. So I really believe that the mark of the beast, like I said, is this blockchain, Bitcoin, digital money system. And we should probably try to figure out how we can avoid it, right? And so if we're going to try to avoid it, I believe the best thing to do is to start getting prepared as quickly as possible, as much as we can. We can talk to others in our neighborhood, friends, church members, whomever, about barter and trade. Let's see who has what to offer and how we would work with that. There is spendable gold options like goldbacks. I accept goldbacks. I've bought some goldbacks when I have a little bit of extra funds. I will buy a few goldbacks. That's spendable cash. It looks like dollar bills, but they're actually gold bullion, very thinly put on this beautiful artwork that has been laminated on the front. So there's that. Right now we can still use cash. So I've been trying to move more towards cash. When it comes to artificial intelligence, they're really pushing that on us like crazy. Facebook just abolished like 3,000 jobs, I heard. Every time I get on the phone, there's an AI system on there wanting to, talk to me before I talk to an actual customer service human being. That makes me very upset. Honestly, think it makes everybody upset, but they're pushing it on us anyway. Which, if you think about it logically, makes absolutely no sense, because if there are no people earning money as income from jobs from these places, big places like Amazon and Facebook and all of these, right? Then there's not that money going into the community. And if there's not that money going into the community, it's not really going back into their business, right? So they're actually kind of, in my opinion, shooting themselves in the foot with their greed. So, yeah. And so that just brings me back to the second thing that I mentioned at the beginning, which is truth. Not being able to teach the truth, not being able to learn the truth, because why? I think we all have the answers to that. Artificial intelligence is permeating into everything, and it is manipulated by the people, they, which are manipulated by it, right? The gigantic, evil, energy-sucking entity that surrounds this planet. Yeah, in my opinion, actually I feel like it's more than an opinion. It's like I have this knowing within me, right? And it keeps coming in as a knowing, like, and I keep finding proof of it in scripture, in doctrine, of theologians that have studied scripture for so long before we had any electronic distractions. And even through the Old English language, too. So, like, here's an example, too. Just yesterday, I was going through my old books, and I have this bookshelf closet thing. There was Divinity of the Dinka. All right, that's a old, like, tribe, the Dinka. They're like very traditional, have not changed for centuries. I didn't read this book, but I owned it for like over 30 years. And I thought, this is interesting. Let me just take a peek in here and see what their idea of divinity and religion is and things like that. And I started flipping through it. I was scanning through it. I didn't read it cover to cover, and there was some underlines in there from the previous owner of the book. Well, lo and behold, they have the same or very similar creation stories, like the flood, Adam and Eve. They don't have the same names, but they're the same stories. And they also talk about the divine and sacrifice to God and evil spirits. And they also have the same belief that if someone does another human wrong, particularly if it's very intentional and it's very harmful to somebody and they're not repentant, they're not apologetic about it, they don't worry about it because they know that God's going to take care of it and they're going to get justice after death, right? The same things that we think about and talk about with our scriptures, right? So that was very interesting. It also reaffirms the ancient stories. It reaffirms the truth in it, in my opinion. Going back to truth, talking about truth, we're going to have to be very, very careful, you guys, because there are so many lies coming out of AI. And I find that ironic, too, that it rhymes. AI, the lie of AI. There are so many lies coming out of it. And here's the thing. Younger people may not be able to distinguish the falsities that they're reading, hearing, and seeing as much as we, the older generation, can identify that. And here's the problem. Like, all of us that are the older generation that remember what the world was like before all of this, and we know what it's like to not work with electronics and have them in our hand every day, like a dog leash, like a choke collar, like a tracker, right? Like you would put on a dog. These electronic phones and wearable devices on your wrist, you know, the Apple Watches and things like that. The younger generation doesn't know how to live without it. They don't know what it's like to be able to think and have silence and have knowledge come to you through God and through the universe, because they're so distracted and they get all of this stuff. It's just a bombardment of trash and lies and distraction, right? Now, I'm not saying all of it is bad, because obviously all of it is not bad, or you wouldn't be watching me right now on it. I feel like I'm speaking truth and like I am trying to help the communities of our nation and our world with this important information, this important awakening, right? But we have to use discernment, right? And our children don't have a lot of discernment because they're children. We have to be careful. And I know that so many people want to start to restrict the phone use and the electronic use with their kids and their teenagers right now, and they don't know how to do that because the children are so addicted to it. They pitch a fit. They don't know what they're going to do. They cause turmoil and chaos and havoc in the house with the parents if they don't have that. And the parents are not used to trying to figure that out or to deal with it, right? When I was growing up, me and all of my neighbors and all of my friends and all of my schoolyard buddies, we were playing outside all the time. It was normal for parents to say, as soon as we got home from school, we might have a snack or something, go play outside. Go play outside, go play. Go to little Stevie's house. Go build a fort in the backyard. Go ride your bike. We were all outside, everywhere, across the nation and across Canada and the UK and all of the Western world. That has now been restricted and bombarded by fear-mongering and scared by child protective services and things like that, that they're going to be reported if their child is playing a block away without them having to stand guard over them. That's ridiculous. Human beings have a right to experience the world, the earth, even when they're little. They should be able to go out and skin their knee. Yeah, that's right. They should be able to go out and ride their bicycle, bump their head, whatever. Maybe get scared by a group of bullies. That's life. You know, that teaches you stuff. Can some dangerous things happen? Yeah, but they do anyway. You keeping them in four walls 24/7 their whole lives is not protecting them from anything. It's hurting them. It's not letting them be a natural being and explore the world and figure things out and learn how to build things and learn community and social skills. And there was no such thing as anxiety and depression with kids when I was growing up. That was unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. Even when I had my first set of kids, I was in my late teens, early 20s. There was none of that. And my kids went out to play outside. They were playing outside every day. When I was a kid, we all knew when to come indoors. We all came indoors when it started to turn dusk. Soon as we saw the sky was starting to change, we got on our bikes, or if we didn't have our bikes or our scooters, we ran home. And when we ran home, we washed our hands. We usually had our dinner. We might have a bath and we'd go to bed. Maybe we had homework, depending on the age. I walked myself to school in kindergarten. I dressed myself in the morning and took myself to school 2 blocks away at age 5 every single school day and walked myself home. And so did almost every other kid, as normal. Now everyone acts like, oh my gosh, there's a 4-year-old standing in the yard by themselves. Call the police. What? What? Really? When I was 6, I lived in Canada when I was 6, and I used to walk from my house down to the street, and I would have my bus fare, and I would get on the city bus by myself, and I would ride the city bus to my skiing lessons. And every time I went to my skiing lessons, I would have a nickel in my pocket, and I would go into the ski lodge and buy myself a cup of hot chocolate. I would sit there on the wooden table with the wooden chair, and I would drink my cocoa, and then I would take the bus home. Every Saturday, I had skiing lessons, and I was 6 years old. I took myself on the city bus, bought myself my hot chocolate, put my skis on myself, took my skis off. But are people letting their kids do these things now? No, because they've been scared. They've been told, oh my gosh, someone's going to kidnap your child, or your child's not capable, or you're such a bad parent. If, like, how dare you let your child ride their bike 3 blocks away with a group of other children and stay out until almost dark? What? Let's think about this. If you look at other countries, they're still doing that. If you go back through time in history, it was even a lot more lax. The 5- and 6-year-olds were tending the sheep by themselves out in the fields. Okay? Yeah. We are not moving forward as a society. We are being oppressed. We're being brainwashed. We're being lied to. We're being oppressed. And nobody should have to worry about whether or not they have a place to lay their head at night. Even an animal has a place to lay its head at night. Why should people like Ted Turner, for example, own 2/3 of Montana because he's a billionaire and he could buy it for $5 an acre 30 or 40 years ago, and now, a young family can't even have 1/4 of an acre of land to build their own little tiny home on. They're trying to struggle to survive, to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to somebody else that bought the property when it was still affordable 40 or 50 or 60 years ago. They don't even have their own home. They can't even think to buy their own home. And if they do, it has to be 2 people working. And so if they ever want to have the possibility of having a child, well, then they have to put their child in a facility? What is that? They don't even get to raise their own children, and then maybe they can't even afford to have more than 2. Or they're told they're bad. Oh, look at that weird family over there. They've got 5 kids. Oh my gosh. How horrible. How selfish. Oh my goodness. Right? I mean, come on, you guys. Really, let's wake up and smell the coffee here. All right, we need to awaken from our sleep. The mark of the beast is coming quickly. Truth is going away very quickly. And we also need to realize that we have been oppressed, brainwashed, lied to, fear-mongered, and we need to help our children out of that. We need to stand together in all of that. We need to pull in the power and the protection through prayer to goodness and light. Our beautiful Lord of Heaven. Thanks for coming today, you guys. Tune back in. Subscribe to support my channel. and help me put the truth back out there. Help me to awaken everybody. Share my link. Let people know. And also, I'm going to try to sell some merchandise to help support this. So have a beautiful Saturday, and hopefully I will see you next week.